Most people fear failure, but the truth is, failure never destroys you. Doubt does. And doubt is the only enemy that lives inside your own chest, speaks in your own voice, and attacks when no one is watching. People today walk with smartphones brighter than their hearts, calendars fuller than their souls, and achievements higher than their inner peace. In a world where information flows faster than breath, one thing still remains ancient, unchanged, untouched: human doubt. Ibn Arabi said, "Your path is not found by eyes, it is found by certainty in the heart." And yet, in modern America, where people have conquered space, decoded the genome, and built nations on innovation, there is still one place science cannot fully reach: the trembling of the human soul. Doubt is not loud. It does not scream. It whispers and destroys quietly. It says, "Are you enough? Is your purpose real? What if you fail? What if you are unworthy?" These questions may look small, but they are the termites of the spirit. They do not break you suddenly, they hollow you slowly. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard said, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom." But Ibn Arabi added a hidden truth: anxiety is what rises when the heart is disconnected from its certainty. In every human suffering, doubt is the first crack in the foundation. Before betrayal there is doubt. Before fear there is doubt. Before spiritual collapse there is doubt. Before emotional exhaustion there is doubt. Doubt is the assassin of destiny. It kills silently, internally, invisibly, and the tragedy: most people diagnose their symptoms but never the cause. They blame people. They blame circumstances. They blame fate. But the real enemy lives within. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But Ibn Arabi would respond, "You have power over your mind only when your heart is anchored in certainty." Certainty is not arrogance. Certainty is not stubbornness. Certainty is the calm knowledge that you are created with precision, placed with purpose, and guided by a Lord who writes no meaningless lines in your life. Doubt blinds you. Certainty liberates you. Doubt tightens the chest. Certainty expands it. Doubt creates storms. Certainty teaches you how to sail. In the spiritual journey, doubt is the first test and certainty is the first miracle. Ibn Arabi famously said, "Between you and the truth is only one veil, yourself, and the thickest layer of that self is doubt. Remove it and suddenly the world becomes readable. Remove it and the heart begins to breathe again. Remove it and life stops feeling random. Remove it and you stop surviving and start becoming." In the United States, where identity crises rise, anxiety is epidemic, and people chase meaning in therapy, technology, careers, and productivity, one thing is forgotten: the human being is not only a mind, the human being is a soul. And the soul does not heal through information, it heals through certainty. Certainty in purpose, certainty in the self, certainty in the Creator. Doubt will always knock, but it is you who decides whether to give it a chair in your heart. The 13th century poet Rumi said, "Why are you so busy with this or that, or good or bad? Pay attention to how things blend." But Ibn Arabi completes it, "And nothing blends without the heart's certainty guiding it." So today, let this truth settle deeply. Your greatest battles were never with the world, they were with the doubts inside you. And the moment you conquer them, you become impossible to stop. Doubt is the first wound of the soul because it enters so silently that a person rarely recognizes its arrival. It doesn't come like fear, which shakes you, nor like pain, which announces itself loudly. Doubt slips into the heart like a shadow that slowly expands. It starts as a tiny question, a small hesitation, a whispered "what if?" And from that whisper the entire inner world begins to tremble. Ibn Arabi teaches that every journey of the heart begins with a test, and the first test is always the challenge of inner certainty. When doubt enters, the soul loses its anchor, its center, its clarity, and the person begins to experience a subtle imbalance. This imbalance grows into emotional confusion, anxiety, or spiritual fatigue. But the root of all these storms is the moment the heart entertained doubt even for a second. Most people think their suffering comes from circumstances, relationships, failures, or disappointments. But these are only consequences. The real origin lies much deeper. It lies in the heart's inability to hold its ground against the whisper of uncertainty. Doubt weakens your inner structure, like the first crack in the foundation of a building. The building doesn't fall immediately. Everything seems normal. Life continues. But slowly the crack widens, spreads, and begins to affect every part of the structure. The soul works the same way. A small unaddressed doubt spreads into fear, then fear into distrust, then distrust into internal paralysis, leading to a state where even small decisions feel heavy and simple truths feel complicated. Ibn Arabi says, "The heart is the throne of divine clarity." But clarity only stays where certainty is strong. Once certainty shakes, the clarity becomes fogged. And in that fog, the soul loses its map. When a person loses their map, every direction feels wrong. Every choice seems dangerous. Every step feels uncertain. And life becomes a maze created not by the world, but by their own inner turbulence. Doubt creates this turbulence, a silent storm that turns peaceful water into hurricane waves without anyone noticing. Where it began, the human mind tries to fix doubt by gathering more knowledge, more information, more proofs. But the soul doesn't heal through data, it heals through alignment. The alignment that comes from trusting a truth deep enough that it can withstand storms. Knowledge enters the mind, but certainty belongs to the heart, and the heart only stabilizes when it chooses a direction with faith. Without this faith, knowledge remains fragile, unstable, incomplete, and unable to guide the person. When life becomes overwhelming, doubt is also the birthplace of overthinking. A mind surrounded by doubt keeps replaying scenarios, imagining dangers, and creating fears that never existed. The person becomes trapped in questions that have no end, questions that eat energy, confidence, and inner peace. Ibn Arabi explains that doubt is a veil that covers the reality already present within you. Reality doesn't disappear. It simply becomes harder to see. You begin to question your worth, your decisions, your purpose, and even your relationship with the divine. This questioning weakens your spiritual identity, leaving the soul exhausted even though nothing physically happened. When doubt grows, it affects your relationships. You begin to doubt people's intentions, their words, their loyalty, and even genuine love starts to feel suspicious. Doubt has the power to distort simple interactions into complex emotional riddles. It steals trust, transparency, and harmony. And without trust, no relationship can breathe. Without trust, the heart tightens, the mind closes, and a person becomes emotionally unavailable even without wanting to. Like a flower that refuses to open because it fears the wine, doubt also attacks ambition, dreams, and purpose. It whispers, "You can't, you won't, you're not enough," and when these whispers repeat long enough, they begin to sound like truth. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever could, because failure happens after effort. But doubt stops effort before it begins. It is the silent enemy that convinces you to stay small, stay safe, stay hidden. While your soul was created to expand, grow, discover, and rise. Ibn Arabi says the universe responds to the certainty of the heart, not the confusion of the mind. When your heart is clear, the world aligns with you. But when doubt clouds your heart, the world seems hostile, confusing, and heavy. The same path looks impossible, not because it changed, but because the eyes that see it have changed. This is why doubt is the first wound, the original fracture, the silent enemy behind every suffering. Because once the heart loses certainty, everything else begins to collapse layer by layer, without the person realizing that the collapse began from within, that the first destructive whisper was not from the world, but from their own unguarded heart. Knowledge without certainty cannot heal you, because information may enter the mind, but healing begins only when truth settles in the heart. In today's world, people collect facts, philosophies, quotes, books, lectures, and guidance the way a traveler collects souvenirs. But none of these collections change the direction of the soul unless certainty touches them from within. Ibn Arabi teaches that knowledge is like a lamp, and certainty is the flame. A lamp without fire is only decoration. It cannot light your path, cannot protect you from darkness, and cannot guide you through the unknown. A person may study deeply, understand intellectually, even articulate wisdom that impresses others. But if the heart still trembles, then knowledge becomes noise instead of nourishment. This is why many intelligent people still feel lost, anxious, spiritually empty, or emotionally unstable, because the mind knows what the heart cannot yet hold. The heart does not follow logic alone. It follows trust, alignment, and conviction. Without these, the heart becomes a restless ocean, no matter how many boats of knowledge float on its surface. Knowledge gives structure, but certainty gives meaning. Knowledge tells you the truth, but certainty lets you live it. Today people chase information like a drug, thinking if I understand more, I will feel better. But understanding is not the cure. Certainty is the cure. The soul does not ask, "What do you know?" It asks, "What do you believe so deeply that you can stand on it even when everything shakes?" Without this depth, knowledge remains outer decoration. Unable to repair inner fractures, you can tell a person everything will be fine, and mentally they may agree. But if their heart does not carry certainty, those words heal nothing. Similarly, you can know you are talented, capable, destined for growth, but if doubt is stronger than certainty, your knowledge cannot save you from your own hesitation. The mind may say go, yet the heart says wait, and the heart wins every time, because action flows from the heart, not the mind. In the spiritual path, Ibn Arabi emphasizes that knowledge is the map, but certainty is the destination. The map alone does not move the traveler. Desire and conviction do. You can know the right way yet still walk in circles. You can know your purpose yet still feel disconnected, because knowing is not becoming, and learning is not transforming. Without certainty, knowledge remains external, floating around you instead of guiding you from within. Many people study spirituality, psychology, philosophy, and religion, yet suffering remains, not because the teachings are weak, but because the vessel, the heart, is not prepared to receive them fully. Like rain falling on stone, the water touches the surface but never penetrates. The heart that lacks certainty becomes stone-like, unable to absorb healing truth, unable to hold peace, unable to feel connection. Knowledge simply slides off its surface. Knowledge can teach you about patience, but only certainty enables you to live calmly in moments of fear. Knowledge can teach you about surrender, but only certainty helps you release control when life becomes unpredictable. Knowledge can teach you about self-worth, but only certainty silences the voice of inadequacy. This is why knowledge alone is incomplete. It is an instrument, not the transformation itself. In modern society, people are overwhelmed with information yet undernourished in spirit. They know the causes of stress, the symptoms of anxiety, the steps of mindfulness, the theories of healing, but still cannot find rest, because rest does not come from knowing the path. It comes from trusting the path. Certainty is this trust, an inner agreement between the soul and the truth it recognizes, not just intellectually, but existentially. Knowledge without certainty creates a split within the self. The mind walks one direction, the heart walks another. The person feels divided, conflicted, ungrounded, unable to experience peace because inner unity is missing. Ibn Arabi says the journey of the seeker begins when the heart and mind align, and alignment requires certainty. Certainty is the bridge, the glue, the unifying field that brings your thoughts, emotions, and actions into harmony. Even in relationships, knowledge without certainty appears. You may know someone loves you yet still doubt their intentions. You may know you are safe yet still feel fear. You may know your decisions are correct yet still hesitate. This shows the limitation of knowledge. It gives clarity to the intellect, but not assurance to the heart. And without assurance, the soul cannot relax. Transformation finally happens when the heart declares, "This is true for me." When the soul says, "I accept this fully," in that moment knowledge stops being information and becomes illumination. It lights the path because certainty is the flame that allows it to shine. Without that flame, the lamp remains dark, no matter how beautifully it is crafted. This is why knowledge without certainty cannot heal you, cannot strengthen you, cannot guide you, because healing is not the process of learning more. It is the process of believing deeply. Certainty turns knowledge into vision, vision into direction, and direction into destiny. Without it, knowledge remains a collection of words, while the heart continues to wander in the dark. Certainty is the foundation of strength, purpose, and peace because it gives the soul something uncheckable to stand on, something deeper than logic, more stable than emotion, and more enduring than circumstance. When a person becomes certain of their purpose, certain of their path, certain of their origin, and certain of their creator, they stop moving like a scattered wind and start moving like a focused river whose direction cannot be redirected by surface turbulence. Ibn Arabi teaches that certainty is not merely belief. It is an inner state where the heart aligns so fully with truth that no external event can break its equilibrium. This alignment creates a power inside the human being that cannot be manufactured by motivation or temporary inspiration. When certainty enters the heart, the human being stops living in reaction and begins living in intention. Doubt creates confusion, but certainty creates direction. A person with direction walks differently, speaks differently, decides differently, because every step is guided by an inner compass that does not depend on approval or validation. This is why individuals with less knowledge but strong certainty often achieve more clarity, success, and influence than those with abundant information but unstable hearts. Certainty turns ordinary actions into decisive ones and turns unclear paths into meaningful journeys. Certainty is also the birthplace of resilience. When the heart knows why it stands, it no longer collapses under pressure. Challenges stop feeling like threats and begin to feel like tests of devotion to the path. Ibn Arabi says that when the heart becomes anchored, storms may rise around you, but they cannot pull you away from what you know is yours. The world loses its power to intimidate you because you are no longer guided by fear. You are guided by conviction, and conviction is heavier than fear, deeper than anxiety, and stronger than uncertainty. In modern life, people struggle not because their problems are too big, but because their certainty is too small. A person without certainty is like a traveler who steps forward then steps back, questions every direction, and mistrusts every sign. Life becomes exhausting because the lack of inner stability makes every decision feel dangerous. But a person with certainty does not experience the same turbulence. Even if they make a mistake, their certainty tells them that mistakes do not end their story, that their path does not break so easily, and that their journey is guided by something greater than their momentary confusion. Certainty is also the root of emotional peace. Without it, the heart becomes chaotic, restless, and sensitive to every external movement. The smallest comment hurts, the smallest failure discourages, the smallest delay shakes the entire inner world. Because without certainty, the heart has no weight. It floats, wavers, and collapses under the slightest emotional pressure. But certainty gives the heart gravity. It pulls you back into balance even when life pushes you off center. It gives you an internal calm that does not depend on outcomes or circumstances. A person with certainty experiences life differently. They do not fear loss because they trust that what is meant for them cannot be taken. They do not fear loneliness because they know the one who walks with them. They do not fear rejection because they know their worth is not defined by human eyes. They do not fear the unknown because certainty teaches them that the unknown is simply the next chapter already written by a wise hand. This is why Ibn Arabi says that certainty is the root of spiritual maturity. When certainty grows, the heart becomes quiet, steady, and deeply aware of its place in existence. Certainty shapes ambition as well. It gives a person the courage to dream boldly and pursue with consistency. Without certainty, ambition collapses at the first difficulty. But with certainty, ambition becomes disciplined, patient, persistent, and unbreakable. The individual no longer relies on quick results from motivation because their strength comes from conviction, not convenience. Certainty tells them to keep going even when progress is invisible, to trust their effort even when outcomes delay, to believe in their growth even when no one else notices. In relationships, certainty is equally transformative. It creates loyalty, trust, and emotional clarity. A person with certainty does not seek constant reassurance because their heart is grounded. They do not overreact to misunderstandings because certainty gives them perspective. They do not fear vulnerability because certainty teaches them that truth cannot harm what is meant to stay. Without certainty, relationships become fragile. full of suspicion and emotional instability. But with certainty, they become strong, safe, and spiritually connected. Ultimately, certainty is the inner architecture of peace, purpose, and power. It gives the heart what nothing else can give: stability, meaning, direction, and freedom. Certainty liberates you from the prison of doubt, from the illusion of fear, and from the noise of insecurity. It allows you to walk through life with the quiet confidence that you are guided, carried, and protected. Ibn Arabi says that the universe opens its doors to the one who walks with certainty, because certainty is not arrogance, it is harmony with truth. And when the heart finds harmony with truth, nothing in existence can hold it back from becoming what it was created to be.